Here we go. I'd like to call to order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District, August 27th, 2014 at 7 p.m. Could we have members present, please?
Joseph Atidi, Marie Brizuela, Shaquille Ali,
Here.
Joseph Waters,
Here.
Rebecca Douglas.
Here. Okay. And Ms. Brizuela just walked in.
Great.
Sorry, I was talking to our teachers.
Okay.
Yep. That's always good.
Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Since we're not a huge crowd, I'll just go ahead and start us off. Ready? Again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I heard that.
No, what happened to you all summer? You're a new you.
And we in here, though.
No, I mean, you still look relatively the same.
Yeah. Because I saw it.
It's my new do.
Your new do, yes.
Oh, I've got something in my chest. No, it's not contagious, but I'm trying to keep warm and trying to
Everybody looking.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion.
approve the agenda.
Second.
A second from Mr. Waters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No. Okay. We have comments from administrators tonight.
I can start. I just wanted to welcome everyone back to school. We have elementary school back to school night next Thursday. It's various times, so check with your school site to see what time it starts.
I thought it was Tuesday, the 9th.
No, it's the
Oh,
4th.
I'm sorry. That was the high school. Never mind.
No, it is September 4th, next Thursday.
I'd like to take the opportunity to announce again that this year we're going to have that free and reduced application campaign as we did last year, and all students are welcome to participate, whether they feel that they would be accepted or denied, and anybody who participates will get put into the free drawing. And we have $3,000 worth of prizes that are paid for by Aramark. We will be having 3 two-day Disney Hopper passes for 2 people. We will have 1 mini iPad. We will have 3 one-day pass to Great America for 4 people. We will have 2 day pass for 4 people to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. We will have 18 theater tickets, cinema theater tickets, and we will have 36 Cold Stone gift certificates. So everybody's going to have their applications in no later than September 26th in order to participate, and the drawing will be on October 24th. So I want everybody to participate. Every student will be able to join in if they hand in an application. That's it.
All right.
I guess we had a very busy but productive, good start to the school year. We've been able to hire many employees, which is nice to have some good support.
And that would help. And then I really want to thank the staff at the schools and the district office for all the extra effort they put into getting the year off to such a good start.
Okay. Do we have any, oh, this is from us. Mr. Waters, do you have any commendations and comments?
I have a comment, something I've been working on, and I just want to share that with everyone in the wake of what's been going on over in Ferguson. I've been talking with Mayor Canepa about this. I spoke with the high school superintendent, Mr. Minshew, about this the other day, and I would like to gather a town hall style meeting involving law enforcement, members of city council if possible, and our community, our parents of our district and parents of the high school, and we can talk and build a relationship with law enforcement so we don't have something like that happen. I want to be proactive with that, I just want to let everybody know what's going on, and I'll keep everybody posted on what happens with that.
So when you're including the bridge of law enforcement, stuff like that, is it Daly City?
Daly City,
And is it Broadmoor?
Broadmoor,
Police?
whoever wants to be involved.
Well, I suggest that
talked
we include
about-
Broadmoor Police.
When I spoke of it, we talked about
And?
involving county-wise.
Oh.
So, again, it's something that as it develops, I'll let you know what
Okay.
happens. But
No, the
other
reason I
other
say
districts
that,
were-
generally speaking, most people just think of Daly City, but we do service the children from Broadmoor as well as Colma and part of Pacifica. So we probably should keep in mind, if we're going to do it locally, we should at least include that. If you want to go countywide, that's great, but let's include everyone because it seems that it's left out.
Well, I'll keep you guys posted on the
Thank you.
progress.
That sounds very good. Look forward to that.
I just want to commend all the parents and teachers and staff who have returned to the school sites, and I'm looking forward to getting out to the schools and visiting, to see what we need to improve or what recommendations we can give for improvements.
Okay, well, first I apologize, I was standing out there for a while talking to our wonderful AFT representatives. But my big concern was that let's have more of our meetings to inform our parents more about the Common Core stuff, so that more people will be involved and understand it. Because we reached a lot of people, but we need to reach more. And I was happy to hear that they're already setting the calendar. So great. So we look forward to that, because to be successful, everybody has to be a part of this and understand it. So then there was one other thing I was going to say. What was it? I'm going to forget. I'm sorry I didn't get to go to the opening welcoming at the beginning of the year, but my husband took me away to Las Vegas. And I have to say I rested. Unfortunately, I brought the little cell phone with me, and it rang constantly. But I just said, sorry, I'm not here. But anyway, I did miss that, and I look forward to it every year, so I apologize for not being there. But I'll be here for everything else. So, okay.
Okay, and I also just wanted to celebrate the opening of school. I, as usual, snuck off to watch the kindergartners go in. It's funny how much younger the kindergartners get every year. I can remember.
That's because yours are getting older.
I can remember, 14 years ago or something, the kindergartners looked pretty big and grown up to me. But no, it's always fun on the first day of school. It was great to see. I was up at Tobias. It was great to see everything running very smoothly. The PTA there was already up and running, serving coffee to the parents to lure them back out of the kindergarten classrooms to leave their children to do what they need to do. And just great to see the school year kicking off well. And I will also just reiterate what Ms. Kessler said about everyone fill in those applications for the free and reduced price lunches, get into the drawing that Aramark is sponsoring, and help us to identify everyone who qualifies. Okay. And now, do we have any persons wishing to address the board? I don't have any cards. Okay. I just thought I should check.
Thank you.
And then correspondence and comments from our superintendent.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd just like to share that the county did review our LCAP this summer. They did send us a very quick note saying that it was approved, but that there are some comments that they will be submitting to us so that we can incorporate that into the next round of LCAP planning, and I'll be sure to share those comments at a coming board meeting. I want to also let the board know and the public know, and I'm not sure it's very widely known. We used to house at Ben Franklin School a community organization called John's Closet. And this is a nonprofit run by the Papin family. And basically they collect new clothing from overstocks and things like that, and then they distribute it to needy families in the community. Well, when we expanded the student population at Ben Franklin, we needed to move them. And so we've moved them to the Colma School. now, right there on Market and Hillside. And we helped them move and helped them get all set up. And so we got a thank you note from them for the support that we provided in helping them move and getting them set up. And they had one of the most successful falls. Because I think the location really works a lot better. So they were able to serve more families. And so I also sent them a thank you note thanking them for thanking us. So maybe that'll stop. The other thing is, some members of the public may be interested in this, but on September 20th, there will be a reader at the, is it called Peninsula Del Rey Senior Center on, I believe it's Sullivan, sort of close to Eastmore. The author that's coming is Rose Castillo Gilbalt, and she has written a book called Farm Worker's Daughter, Growing Up Mexican in America. And so that should be a very interesting talk about her own personal memoir. And I will put the flyers for the board in your info bulletin either this week or next week on that. So it should be an interesting conversation.
And that's sponsored by the Daly City Public Library Associates.
Correct, sorry about that.
Just to give credit where credit's due.
Yes, yes. They also have, and I think they may have been more wide about this before, they have a special page for fundraising through Amazon. So every time we purchase at Amazon, a certain percentage of our purchase is donated to them. So that is something to put as a bookmark.
They support the public libraries, who in turn support our students, so we want to support them. Thanks. Okay, is that?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, then, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call vote on this one.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mr. Waters,
Aye.
Dr. Douglas.
Aye. Okay. That is approved. And brings us to section 1, item 5. Thank you for the little red circles, Mr. Morales. That is so helpful. The CSBA call for nominations for directors at large.
So actually, both of item number 5 and number 6, they're information items at this point. Wanted to let the board know that we have these opportunities. I do want to let the board know that if we wish to make a nomination for directors at large in either of those categories, if you can get those nominations to me very quickly, like next Wednesday, or Wednesday, get them to me by next Wednesday so they can be included in the board meeting of the 10th. And then for the legislative awards program, if you can get that to me by Tuesday the 5th. I don't know, what's September 5th? That would be a Saturday, so
Ooh.
that's a Friday. Yes.
I have no idea.
Okay, so if you have a legislator, it does say Congress on there, but it is restricted just to state legislature members.
Oh, it
both
says, I
Assembly-
thought it was, I was going to ask
Assembly
you
and
about
Senate,
that.
yeah, Assembly and Senate.
Legislatures.
Yeah, and so we have one less legislator to be able to nominate since we have a suspension. But we have a couple others that we might want to consider.
And the CSBA does ask that we restrict our nominations to those
Good standing.
who serve us.
Okay, yeah,
So
it has to be in our
local-
district, yeah.
We can't pick somebody from another part of the state.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or anything they want to share on either of those topics. Those are really more heads up to know that if you have any ideas or thoughts, that you want to nominate somebody for either of those to move ahead with that.
Yeah, and there's a couple bits of information that it seeks. So if you're interested in nominating somebody, you start gathering that information, get it to me.
I just have a question. Have there been any superstar legislators that have been going to bat for us for education?
I think we're very, very lucky in the sense that the legislators who do represent us do also vote in favor of education and education policies. None of them that I know of have authored anything in particular, but they are very supportive.
since you put to Congress, I got a little excited thinking something was changed. And I was ready tonight to nominate Jackie Spear because she, in our district, she's the one that was able to get the portable for FDR in liquid like that, when it should have been taken a 9-month process. And she has done a lot of things in our district for our schools and for everybody, for everything, whether it's health, whether it's education, and but unfortunately,
true.
you blew my bubble now
It is for
because
state legislature, yes.
I thought it always was, but I thought maybe they made a difference now. Maybe they decided to say,
Right.
because, well, anyway.
Yeah.
But I'll be thinking about who.
Yeah, and then please get those again.
Yeah.
I did write down myself a note, so by September 10th, which is our next board meeting, any nominations for directors at large for CSBA. By September 5th, which is a week from Friday, nominations for legislator of the year, or that's what it used to be called. It's now called the Legislative Awards Program.
When you finally find out the ones that get it, they are really pretty outstanding. They've really done a lot of stuff, so.
Great.
Okay. And if there's no further discussion or information needed on those, let's move on down to item 8, our Special Education Department and Program Review.
Speaker here.
Great.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce our speaker?
Yes. So as the board knows, last spring, I determined that it would be a great opportunity to get an outside perspective on our department and our program offerings, as well as our program services and supports for staff, students, and the whole district. And so I actually started off with a state organization called FICMAT. They do a lot of reviews, financial, mostly for districts that are in financial straits. But they also have a subsection that does special education department and program reviews. But they were full, and I said, I really need something done before June. So they were kind enough to recommend Ms. Joanne Murphy, who I'll call forward now, from the Strategic Consultation for Schools. She does work for FICMAT, and so she is very familiar with the processes that are used in FICMAT. She is quicker, and she doesn't have to produce the 4-inch binders of reports that FICMAT, would require of the whole process. So she says, yes, I can do it, and I can do it by the time you're out of school. And so we said, great, let's start on this. So she was kind enough to assemble a team, and they came end of May, beginning of June, and she'll go over the process, and she has been working with us in developing the recommendations and sort of helping us sort of set a roadmap for the department and what we want to be offering our community through the special education. So, Joanne.
Thank you. Good evening, board members and superintendent. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I just wanted to say a little bit about our company. I think Bernie's described it very well. It's actually composed of all FICMAT consultants, and so we are all retired administrators in special education and general education, and so our average experience is 25 to 35 years of experience in the field of special education. And most of us started in the ranks of teachers and worked all the way up to administration. So, and we do a lot of overflow work for FICMAT. So it's fun to still be connected at both levels. Now, we're on both sides here, so I guess, let's see how this works. Okay. Strategic consultation, as I said, is we've expanded the work that we do, and we did that because in addition to FICMAT reports, what we found is that there's nobody out there to really support school districts when they try to implement things. So we're getting more into the implementation phase of how to do some of these things that need to happen. In your particular case, Bernie's interest was in looking at the overall special education delivery system. And the delivery system means the programs and services that are offered by special education. And then also looking at the administrative structure. And he had some questions around whether or not the district special ed department was appropriately staffed to meet the compliance and the program needs of the district. But the whole purpose of this study is not a gotcha to find things that are wrong, but to move the district forward and increase the transition of special ed kids to the Common Core. That's our primary goal. That's your primary goal. And so the purpose of this study is to take a look at ways that you can begin to move that forward. First of all, we found a number of strengths, and I think that those should be highlighted first for you. The staff on every level, and we interviewed all of your, not all of your staff, but representative samples of administrators in the district office, site administrators, teachers, instructional aides, nurses, psychologists. And we really did get a sense straight across the board of a deep commitment and dedication to students with disabilities. And that's very refreshing to see. The other thing that I think makes you very unique compared to the majority of school districts in the state of California is that your identification rate for special education is 9%. The statewide average is 10%. Some districts are up in the 16, 18, 20% range. And what that will typically tell you is that those districts are not providing lower level interventions. They're going straight to special education all the time. So your district is doing a fine job at offering interventions. Now, with regard to the Common Core in math and English language arts, your district itself has made great strides in the transition of general education. And they've identified the content areas for general education staff development. So that part is great. The resource specialists are the new to this transition, and they have started to participate in the initial transition steps. But what's unique about your district is that right now, special education is sort of over here, and general ed is over here. So that transition that we're looking at is bringing those two sides together so that special education is actually part of the Common Core. And you started that with the resource specialist, but we need to move that forward a little bit further. Preschool age special education students have demonstrated strong achievement levels on an annual state report. And we don't often think of our little 3- and 4-year-olds taking tests at that young level, but the fact is that in special education, we must provide services to that level, and in addition to that, we have to measure their progress. So your preschoolers, you're doing a fine job in your preschool program. Now, we had some recommendations, and first of all, I'm going to start with the organizational structure itself. And I'm going to describe some things that have already, the board has already taken action on. So congratulations to you. First of all, consider making the special education department a sub-department within the curriculum and instruction area. Instead of having it being a separate department over here, look at infusing it into the curriculum and instruction. And I think the district will probably be looking at that, or ways to include the special education population in the Common Core and all of those discussions. Next, reinforce the infrastructure of the administrative and clerical support for special education and nursing. And this is the part that the board has already taken action on, increasing 2 program coordinator positions. And I think that's fantastic, and it's the right level of support for a district this size and a special education program this size. So those 2 program coordinators will assist your director of special education in implementing all of the program change. In addition to that, the addition of 1 clerical support position. And you've also taken action, and in fact, that person has been hired already. It's my understanding that the 2 program coordinator positions are still open, and the district is still looking for people. You want to take your time with that. It's an important position. Don't jump right in. If you've got people from within, great, bring them up, train them, support them. If you don't, continue to look proactively outside because it's a very critical position for what you're trying to do. The district has also added clerical support time for the nurses, and I think that's going to close the gap between that level of service, so that's great too. The last thing is consider hiring an assistive technology specialist, just 50%. You don't currently have your own technology assistant, and that's someone who, a certified position of someone who would do assessments to determine what kinds of equipment and supports kids need who are either not able to speak, not able to write, and that sort of thing. So that's something, I don't know if that's in the works, but something to consider for the future. Under staff development, there's always a need in every district for staff development. This is something that we find in every single district that we go into. There are a lot of things going on, a lot of things available, but there's also a lot of constraints that go along with that too. There's maybe some SELPA trainings that you could attend, that the staff could attend, but they haven't attended because maybe the communication from the SELPA wasn't clear that this was open to general ed teachers or special ed teachers. Sometimes it's not possible to release teachers because you can't get subs. There's lots of struggles that go along with that, but enhancing the transition of special ed students occurs with a strong professional development system. So making sure that the special ed teachers at all levels are included in your curriculum trainings and supports. Organizing collaboration teams with maybe one general ed teacher and one special ed teacher to actually go into general ed classrooms and use core curriculum and discuss how special needs students might be able to access that curriculum. Ensure the participation in completion of district-wide staff development and assessment for both administrators and teachers. Often what we find is that administrators don't know much about special education and they need to know more. So very specific training for administrators, general ed teachers, and also special ed teachers. Now this is the kind of the central theme of special education. It has to do with the least restrictive environment, or people will refer to it as LRE. You know, in special education we use lots of acronyms. But LRE is basically the extent to which special ed students or students with disabilities are included with general ed students in the general ed classroom. And the history of the federal law goes way back, and even today, I think many times people refer to special education as a place. So we should get the student identified for special education and send them over here, or identify them for special ed and send them to this class over here. Go to a separate environment so that they learn within the context of that environment. And really what this is saying in the federal law is that's not the intent of the federal law. The intent is for that child to be able to learn in the context of the general ed classroom with the right aids and supports. So this is new for all of us in California. This is not a unique thing for your district. Everybody's working on this. So this should be at the base of any strategic planning that you do around the integration of special ed kids into the general ed classroom. So the first thing that you can do is build a common understanding of what LRE is. And that means with general ed teachers and with administrators, parents, and special ed teachers as well. And then incorporate into the changes the program delivery for special ed. Sometimes the concern is that districts may move too quickly and just arbitrarily place students in a less restrictive kind of setting. And you have to be very cautious about that because you have to have all the right supports and everything in place before you change the system of delivering services. So we're recommending that you use a strategic planning model where you would have input from all stakeholders, general ed, special ed, parents, specialists, anybody that has some aspect of special education, to be involved in developing and defining what your service delivery model will be in special education. So we're encouraging you to do that. And you can do that in-house. Include in this process a focused discussion about cross-categorical student clustering. And that is a concept that you currently use in your district. And in this kind of setting, all of your severely handicapped students have been placed in the context of less restrictive kinds of classes. And there's a huge, heterogeneous group that has developed, and so that's kind of difficult to teach at that level. So you're going to really want to focus on what is cross-categorical student clustering, how do we put kids in the general ed, yet keep the academics moving along for the rest of the classes. Define the role of staff related to ensuring placement and learning in the LRE, and then develop a professional development plan that includes special education as well. The next steps for your district are to develop an action plan, and we made a number of recommendations to you. We've got them all spelled out, and there's about 56 of them. And you can take those and put those into a specific action plan. That's something that James can do within his department with his program coordinators when they're on board. The next thing that we would ask you to consider taking a look at is the fiscal side of special education, because that has not been reviewed up to this point in time. I know that districts are very concerned about the rising encroachment cost of special education. And some people refer to it as encroachment. Those of us in special education call it general fund support. But the reality is that it's an underfunded mandate. And because of that, districts you still have to provide the services, so you still have to pay that additional cost. And so it would be good for you to take a look at what are your actual costs and kind of compare them to the statewide average and see how you fare in that regard. The next area within that is, and this is a fiscal issue as well, is the transportation rate for special education. You are currently transporting 19% of your special education students, and the statewide average is 10% of those studies that we've done in FCMAT. Now, my caution here is this: just because you have 19% and the average is 10% doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, okay? It just means that it needs study. It could be very possible that, number one, you have a unique population, you have a level of intensity with students with special education needs who cannot take the regular bus, who cannot get to their program with any other needs. You have students that are placed outside in non-public schools and in county schools. Those kids have to be transported to and from those programs. So that's my caution there. It's just a data point, but it's something to look at and explain, okay, yeah, we understand why we're a little bit higher. Or if you are higher, then let's take a look at the procedures and everything within there to see if we can make some adjustments. Then the next thing is consider designing a special ed task force. Again, that's the strategic planning group that I talked about. And then James is also going to be meeting with the board at least 3 times a year, because he will have an action plan developed with his staff. They've already started, which is very impressive. They've already started on some of these issues that are a concern. And so once he's fully staffed, he's certainly going to be able to do even more. And he'll be coming back to the board 3 times a year to report to you on the progress that's being made in special education. Any questions?
Question for members?
I had one, but I didn't have a place to write it down.
How much of this, I guess my question would be to
Handout?
Mr. Vidales and Ms. McCulick. So it was mentioned that
Supposed to look at it now?
one of the recommendations was including the special ed department in the curriculum and instruction department. So I guess my question is how much interaction did you have before this recommendation was made? Because this is assuming that that wasn't the case. Did you have any,
Yeah, no, I did. I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Yeah.
I did have interactions, yeah, and we were already, I went to a couple special ed staff meetings. We were including special ed staff in some of our PD, our professional development, sorry, acronym. And actually, we've, since over the summer and working with Dr. Adams, we've included even more communication. So there was communication before. We've expanded it based on this study, too.
all right, so what is your personal thought about that particular recommendation?
Oh, I absolutely agree with it, and I'm really excited about the collaboration that we have right now, and we're already making strides towards having a very inclusive district with all of our students. We want all our students to receive the core curriculum, the core instruction, and we're working on that. We just had a training on Friday with general ed and special ed staff together on this kind of multi-tiered system of support, which I'll share with you in a later date. But
All right.
we're definitely including all of our special day class teachers, our resource specialist teachers in our Common Core instruction professional development this year. We didn't necessarily include special day class last year. We had our resource specialists, our learning center teachers, what it was formerly called. But now we're including even more because we want more students to have access to that core curriculum, core instruction.
All right, so the multi-tiered system of support, that's for all the students? All right, not just special ed. I don't think I had any other questions.
Question, do we have before and after data?
Achievement data, or what kind of data are you referring to?
Just looking at just what she looked at, this before.
Before and now. So what the data that she has is based on the interviews that were conducted in the first week of June.
So this is the
that was-
before.
That's just.
Okay,
that's
so now,
just-
I got you, I
yeah.
got you.
And my recommendation would be that a district of our size participates in this kind of a study every 3 to 5 years at some point. Just because, as you mentioned, there are 56 recommendations that were raised, and so at the end of 3 years, we want to see which recommendations have been implemented, which ones still need work, and there will be new once you take off a layer of something, you discover there's something else underneath it. So
Yeah. But I'm looking at, I guess there's, at some point, something like this was done before. I was wondering if there was any kind of comparison.
I think there was something done in the mid-2000s.
Okay.
So, and then there's the regular state reviews that are done, and the last couple of years we've been inundated with those state reviews, and so some of these issues were raised by that, like the least restrictive environment was raised by that, and we may have a low identification rate, but we have a high rate of students participating in more restrictive environments. And again, that could be due to the nature of the disability of many of our students, that they need a more restrictive environment, but we also, it is something that we want to look at and make sure that we give students the most access and support to be able to participate in the general environment.
Okay.
It kind of went a little quick without me being able to make notes on what you had here, what you talked about, but when you mentioned the 53 items, were they listed on there, all of them?
I
No,
can
they're
get-
not listed
I'd
there.
like to see that.
Yes, I'll get that to the board.
To me, that's data.
Yeah. we
Not
need to
just,
review
what
that.
I read here was sort of
Yeah.
the vague picture. but I want to see more of the data,
Yeah.
what came
And
about.
what those recommendations do is just kind of break it down into very small components of
That's
what
okay.
you need to do.
I'd like to
within
see
it.
it.
Okay.
I mean, I want to understand. It was really vague to me, especially when I noticed you had nursing there, and we all, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I myself, and a few others that I've spoken with, feel that we need more nurses, and yet it sounded like we were doing fine in the nurses. So
Well, you do need more nurses.
that wasn't really said, maybe it says in your 53
Yes,
items.
it
But it
does.
didn't say here, and I thought, oh dear,
It does.
did I miss something all this time?
I think that was
Yeah.
more an acknowledgement that we've made
Well,
some small step
You
in
know,
this direction.
I appreciate that it was based, this report was based on how well we're doing. But what I want to see is what we really have to do or should be doing. And so that's why I really want the 53
Yeah, I'm
items.
sorry if it didn't come across that way. It was,
I'm just saying.
it was definitely about how well you are doing. However, I would say the majority of it focuses on how you can get better. So I didn't mean for that to come across
It came
as-
that way to me. That's just.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
didn't
just
mean
me.
it
I'm
to
just
come
saying how
across
I
that
feel.
way. Typically in FCMAT reports, one of our criticisms is that we always get is FCMAT reports do not include any commendations. So they only
You really did a
include,
good job on that. then.
they only include what's wrong. And so there are times when these reports can be kind of brutal. And so
Yeah,
when this,
I agree.
because the staff's working hard, they're working under a lot of pressure, and then they get this report that just kind of knocks you down and talks about what you're not doing right. So I am confident, and I believe the superintendent is confident in his staff, that they have a clear direction in terms of specifically what is not working and what needs to be fixed. And that's what I mean by the 56 recommendations. I do want to say that we did look at the previous report, and I think it was 2005, Bernie, and one of the things that concerned us was that there were things identified there, one of which is that kind of silo for special education. So this is not a new issue in the district. In the last year, it made considerable progress. That's with the change, maybe changes in leadership and the things that you're doing. So it's making, some changes have occurred, but very little progress had been made from 2005 until the present. So I think coming back to it, having an action plan which holds everyone accountable on all sides, and reporting back to the board to say this is what we're working on, this is what we've accomplished. Here's some of the constraints that we're meeting, here's some of the obstacles that we have, and maybe you can help and support the staff as well. So I think, but I'm sorry if it came across as
I just wanted to see more meat.
I think another thing I think that might have been colored Ms. Murphy's report is that, you know, we started getting some of these recommendations at the end of June, and the next day we started acting on those recommendations, you know, and started putting some things into place, and you started to see some things at board agendas. We've done some other things. So I think she was commenting on the quick speed by which that we took some of those recommendations and started acting on those that we could and putting things into place. The biggest recommendation that I took away from this, I think Dr. Adams did too, is that this is heavy work, and it requires a department that's staffed appropriately. We're not staffed, when we look at other special education departments who aren't necessarily needing to do some of this work. We're understaffed both clerically and support-wise to be able to deliver the kind of program we want to deliver. And so that's one of the first things. I mean, we can't do any of the recommendations without an appropriate staff department. So that's one of the things we want to work on first, is try to get the right people in place to carry out some of these recommendations.
What's the likelihood of bringing on a BCBA, Board Certified Behavior Analyst?
You know, that's something that I think that's determined by the student needs, and so as soon as, you know, those needs start to become available and present. Right now, we do have some of our psychologists who are certified and do provide those services for our students.
Since you're talking a little bit about, I have one more question about hiring and firing. did that come up in your surveys, or what was the input that was given on that? Because I've been receiving communications from a few people in the community asking questions about our hiring and firing in the special ed department. So how much of that was addressed in the surveys?
I don't believe that was specifically addressed.
All right, so what are we going to tell? I mean, because I'm getting questions,
Well, you can have them call me.
which I have
That would be a
been.
question that I could answer, so.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I
So I don't have
agree
much
that we
more
have
to
to have,
say.
people in place to do the job.
Mhm.
We want it done. But let us know about it as you go along. Don't wait till the end.
Yes.
Because we do get people asking us questions or saying things, and sometimes we would like to be able to feel confident to answer.
Saying, yeah.
Feel that we really understand what the good and the hardships are, so that we can always let them call you, but that's not always easy for some people.
I mean, I think that we need to see, like Ms. Brizuela said, the 56
Yeah.
recommendations, and then know what the process is that we're going to take, because that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to follow all 56,
Well,
or that you even
there's
agree.
only 52 weeks in 1 year, so we took one recommendation and worked on one, and they're not easy recommendations, so.
Right.
And we'd like to be a part of
Correct.
knowing it,
Yeah, no,
and
and-
maybe be able to support you in what
Absolutely.
it should be
And
done right away.
we will come forward with an action plan to the board to demonstrate how we are approaching the recommendations and the additional support that the department needs to be able to accomplish that.
And can that report be, attached to it? Yeah. So we can actually look at the.
I mean, I just want to ask then, have you already determined that all 56 are valid and relevant to our district, or?
If not, yes.
All right, that's, thanks.
So we've just started getting started getting the information, so
All
like
right.
she mentioned, we do need to start a process to develop an action plan, and that hasn't quite started. And
I
there's
got
some
you.
things that are boulders that we know we have to move before
Mm-hmm.
we can get to the smaller
Mhm.
boulders behind the big boulder, so.
Right.
So we've identified a couple of big boulders that we want to work on first. and
All
then
right.
Once we can start working on the other ones.
Even though you have 56 items, I'm sure that some of them can be incorporated together.
Well, I think that's what the recommendations attempted to do.
Yeah.
So
Put 'em
many
into-
of these items
Already
could have
are?
been, one of those bullets were related to 10 sub-items.
Okay.
So
All right.
That's an
those
area.
recommendations represent a lot of minute
Right.
recommendations that are just encapsulated by increased staff development between general ed and and special education staffs.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
um,
Excellent.
For overseeing the details, but that was a good summary. Thank you.